Welcome to this section of the course, which is about ClickHouse SQL. It is important to learn the ClickHouse SQL because it is the primary way to interact and handle the ClickHouse database. So, we will spend considerable amount of time to learn the ClickHouse SQL. SQL is an abbreviation of Structured Query Language. It is a domain-specific language which is used to communicate with the database and interact with the data stored in the database. It is primarily a declarative language, and by the year 1987, American National Standards Institute and International Organization for Standards had adopted a standard definition. ClickHouse has its own dialect of SQL, and it has a lot of similarities with the ANSI standard. A basic SQL statement is a composite of keywords, identifiers, clauses, and expressions. Let us look at a simple example to understand these jargons. Here, we have an example SQL statement, which is select star from system.functions, where name equals to sum. The keywords are the words that are part of the programming syntax. In this example, select is a keyword. Remember, keywords are not reserved in ClickHouse. Next comes the identifiers. Identifiers are the names of the databases, tables, columns, etc. In this example, we have system.functions, where system is the database name and the functions is the table name. So system and functions are the identifiers in this SQL statement. Let us look at the clauses. Clauses are the part of SQL statement which specifies the conditions to retrieve the data from the table. In this example, we have a where clause. And finally, expressions are a combination of operators, values, and functions that evaluates to a boolean, numeric, or date value. In this example, we have an expression which is name equals to sum. Let us execute this query using ClickHouse client. When we execute this query, ClickHouse will search for the rows in the system.functions table and returns the rows where the value in the name column is equal to sum. We have one matching row from the table in the output. ClickHouse supports SQL style commenting, which uses double hyphen, and also C style commenting, which uses / and asterisk. The SQL commands can be categorized into data query language, data definition language, data manipulation language, and data control language. We will cover all of these except the data control language, which will be covered as part of the role-based access control. Let's go through each of these one by one. Welcome to this video on data definition language commands in ClickHouse SQL. Data definition language, or DDL commands, deals with creating and modifying the database objects such as tables, databases, views, etc. These commands are not normally used by general database users, and only the database administrators are recommended to use these commands. In ClickHouse, we have create, rename, truncate, and drop statements that are part of data definition language commands. Create statement can be used to create a table, database, or a user. We can rename these entities using the rename statement. We can remove all the records in a table using truncate statement. Finally, we can drop a database, a table, a user, views, etc. using the drop statement. Let us go through few examples for each of these statements. We can create a database using the create database statement. In this example, we are going to create a database called SQL_examples. To create a table, we can use the create table statement. In this example, we are going to create a table called table1 under the newly created database, which is SQL_examples. This table has only one column, and the table is based on log engine. Don't worry about the table engines and the data types. because these will be extensively covered in the upcoming sections of the course. After the table creation, let us insert a couple of rows into the newly created table. We can now see the inserted data in this table. We can rename the table or a database using the rename statement. In this example, I am going to rename the table called table 1 to another table name called table 2. So we can see that the table called table 1 has been renamed to table 2. Only the name of the table will be changed and the table contents will be left untouched. Next, we can use the truncate statement to clear the contents of a table. This will remove all the rows that are present in the table. We can see that there is no data left in the table after it has been truncated. We can drop the table entirely from the database using the drop table statement. In this example, we are going to drop the table called table 2 from the SQL_examples database. Now, the table is not present anymore in this database. So these are the important DDL commands that are available in ClickHouse. Thanks for watching and see you again. Welcome back. In this video, we shall look at the data query language in ClickHouse. Data query language, also known as DQL, are used for reading and querying the data from the database table. A select statement is a statement that is commonly used to query the data. The simplest form of a select statement is given here. It starts with select keyword followed by the column names, which is followed by the from keyword and then the table name. So this statement will read the values for the specified columns from the specified table. Select statements support clauses such as limit, distinct, where, group by, and order by. Let us look at an example for each of these clauses. In this example, I am going to read all the columns from the table called functions under the system database. I have used the limit clause to limit the result set. So we can see that 10 rows of data are returned since we have limited the result set to 10 rows. Let us look at another example. Here, I am going to find the distinct values in the name column from the system.functions table. The result set is limited to 100 rows. Let us look at an example of a where clause. A where clause is used to filter the rows based on a condition or expression. In this example, I am going to read the values in the name column, and the rows where the value in the name column equals to sum will be returned as part of the result set. We have only one row in the result set. Let us move on to the group by clause. In this example, I am going to group the data based on the values present in the is_aggregate column and find the total number of rows for each of these groups. I have a where clause, and this will filter the rows where the values in the origin column equals to system. So this is the result set. Let us look at another example. We can use the order by clause to sort the result set in ascending or descending order. In this example, I am going to sort the result set in descending order based on the value in the is_aggregate column. And we have the result set here. So in any select statement, the where clause precedes the group by clause and the order by clause, and the group by clause will always precede the order by clause. So this is about the data query language in ClickHouse. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.